Good morning, Mr. Rogers. Thanks so much for meeting with me today.
My pleasure, Miss Edwards. I'm more than happy to meet with you and relieve some of your concerns over Charlie's new RTI plan that I and the rest of my RTI team came up with.
That sounds great, but could you start from the beginning? What is RTI?
Well, Miss Edwards, RTI, or Response to Intervention, is a plan that we put into place for students whom we believe may benefit from it. The plan is usually put into place for students who may be struggling with either academic or behavioral problems in the classroom. Your son Charlie expressed some problems with his writing. RTI was created because many teachers noticed too many students were going throughout their education with problem areas, and those problem areas never got addressed by their teachers until it was way too late. This was what we now call the wait to fail approach. Rather than waiting for our students to fail, we now begin giving students a universal test at the earliest possible opportunity, usually kindergarten, to see if any students are struggling in any particular areas. Then we create a 3-tiered plan of interventions for Charlie, each tier becoming a little bit more intensive than the one before it.
What do you mean by wait to fail?
Well, in the past, teachers would simply assume students were at the appropriate levels unless they failed at something. Teachers basically waited for a student to literally fail at something before identifying that there was a problem. The problem with this is, some students could go years before they are identified with an academic concern.
I see. So how do you determine which students are eligible for an RTI plan?
Well, we start by using a universal screening process to determine which students would benefit from an RTI plan. The tests are crucial because this is how we find out if a student needs help with something. Once a student is identified with needing interventions, I, along with other teachers and the principals, come up with some interventions that will help Charlie.
That sounds great. What are some of the interventions you have come up with?
Well, since Charlie has trouble with his writing, most of his interventions are writing focused. For instance, I've started giving Charlie pre-writing ideas and graphic organizers. I think that by helping Charlie keep his thoughts organized, he will have an easier time getting his thoughts on paper. Keep going.
Okay, I feel a little better about the whole thing now, but do you really think it's necessary? I mean, don't a lot of kids at Charlie's age have trouble writing?
Correct, but our screening process has identified Charlie as having some difficulty with his writing. My advice would be to accept this, and instead of fighting it, try to determine the best way to move forward.
I think you're right. Thanks, Mr. Rogers, for meeting with me today and explaining this. I feel much better now.
My pleasure, Miss Edwards. I'll be checking in daily to keep you posted on Charlie's progress.
Thank you.